Welcome to Book Summary Podcast, your gateway to personal transformation. Each episode delivers big ideas from the world's most impactful books on mindset, productivity, and success, all in just a few minutes. Ready to turn knowledge into action? Let's get started.
Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take a stack of your sources and really try to extract the most important nuggets of knowledge or insight. We want to give you that shortcut to being truly well-informed.
Exactly. We're here to be your guides, helping you understand not just what's important, but, why it matters. We really want to encourage you to think critically, consider different viewpoints.
Today, we're diving into a really practical and insightful book, the Get Things Done book. 41 Tools to Start, Stick With, and Finish Things by Krogerus and Tschäppeler. It seems like a fantastic resource for anyone who feels, overwhelmed by information or just wants to bridge that gap between knowing what to do and actually finally doing it.
Yeah, and look, our mission today isn't about promoting some kind of productivity porn or that old Puritan work ethic.
Right.
Instead, we want to explore how we can intensify those really satisfying highs you get from accomplishment and maybe smooth out the lows, the procrastination, the overwhelm. It's about focusing on what's genuinely meaningful for you.
Finding that sparkle.
Exactly, finding that unmistakable sparkle in your eyes when you talk about something you're truly excited about.
And what's so refreshing about this book, I think, is its flexibility. It
Yeah.
really reminds us these aren't like one-size-fits-all rules. It's more of a toolkit.
Mm-hmm. An invitation.
Yeah, an invitation to pick and choose, tweak things, build on what resonates with you. So let's unpack this wealth of strategies. They're designed to help you kind of make your own path as you walk it. Okay, so the book kicks off by tapping into something we all definitely know. That immense satisfaction of accomplishment. It's that profound, almost incomparable feeling of pride you get when you complete a task.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it. Whether it's finally clearing that, mountain of washing up,
Oh, yeah.
or submitting a dreaded tax return, or maybe delivering a major client presentation, that feeling of done is just such a powerful motivator. It creates a kind of positive feedback loop, doesn't it?
It really does. You finish one thing and it sort of spurs you on to the next.
Yeah.
And what's fascinating here is how deeply this ties into our human wiring. I mean, this emotional reward isn't just some fleeting good feeling. It's a fundamental motivator. It links directly to our intrinsic drive for, competence and achievement.
Okay.
Our brains are essentially designed to give us a little hit of dopamine every time we tick something off. It reinforces the behavior of doing. So when we talk about getting things done, we're really talking about optimizing for this innate psychological reward.
That makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're sort of hardwired for that feeling, how do we tap into it more often? The authors introduce this concept of the state of flow.
Ah, flow, yes.
Yeah, occupational psychologists describe this as those moments when you're just boosting with energy, totally carried away by a task. It happens when your abilities perfectly match the challenge, right? Creating this incredibly immersive, satisfying experience. It's not just about being busy, it's about being optimally engaged. You almost lose track of time.
Exactly. And the book poses a really critical question. How can we consciously cultivate this state of flow? It's about structuring your tasks, your environment to kind of facilitate this optimal engagement where the challenge meets your skill level, precisely.
Right.
Imagine how much more satisfying your day could be if you could consciously enter these moments more often, moving from task to task, feeling truly immersed and energized instead of, constantly battling distractions or feeling overwhelmed.
But let's be honest, it's not always smooth sailing in flow states, is it?
Not at all.
The book also acknowledges the flip side. Navigating the lows. We all hit those moments when we falter, feeling unsure, maybe lazy, inefficient, or just timid, and we just don't get things done. It's a universal human experience.
It really is. And it's certainly not a personal failing.
No.
And this is a crucial point, actually. It highlights the dual purpose of the book. It's not just for boosting existing productivity when you're already on a roll. It's equally, maybe even more, about providing concrete techniques for overcoming that inertia, breaking through those moments of doubt, and finding new approaches when you feel stuck. Acknowledging this common struggle really lays the groundwork for the practical tools we're about to dive into. Tools specifically designed to address these very human tendencies towards procrastination and self-doubt.
Okay, so let's jump straight into those practical tools then, starting with one of the most common challenges, overcoming procrastination, or simply how to make a start in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
The book tells us that postponing tasks, which is basically what procrastination is, afflicts a staggering 80% of us.
Wow. 80%.
Yeah, and for about 20%, it's a chronic issue. But what truly resonated with me and what the book really emphasizes is that it's not laziness.
That's such a vital reframe. Research particularly around temporal motivation theory, which, put simply, is the science behind why we often choose instant gratification over a future reward. It shows procrastination isn't a moral failing, it's an internal battle.
Look at batting.
Yeah. It's your brain's desire for immediate comfort, clashing with the knowledge that completing the task will lead to later, maybe greater satisfaction. The book identifies some key reasons. Maybe you mistakenly believe you can't cope, or you underestimate the future pleasure of completion, or, you just don't reflect enough on your inaction.
Right.
This leads to that awful sword of Damocles, feeling those unfinished tasks just hanging over you, causing stress and anxiety.
So, if it's a battle, what's our weapon?
Yeah.
What do we do? The book introduces Jason Wessel's micro-dosed behavioral therapy. It sounds complex, but it's surprisingly simple. Ask yourself 4 questions, twice a day.
Okay.
First, emotion. How will you feel if you don't complete the task? Second, vision. What would a productive person do in your shoes? Third, plan. What's the one thing you can do right now to achieve your goal on time? And finally, progress. What's the very next small thing you need to do?
The genius here isn't some magic fix, is it? It's a consistent practice of self-reflection. It's about regularly nudging yourself towards awareness and action, breaking down the task into these manageable micro steps. That consistency is what slowly but surely starts to rewire your approach to starting things.
From self-reflection, then, we move to a really tangible technique, the Pomodoro Technique. I've heard of this one. It's a simple, kind of elegant method to avoid distractions and just begin working, named after a kitchen timer shaped like a tomato, apparently.
That's right. Pomodoro is Italian for tomato. Its beauty really lies in its simplicity. You essentially eliminate distractions, turn off the Wi-Fi, put your phone on airplane mode.
Okay, focus time.
Exactly. Then you set a timer for 25 minutes and you commit to working without interruptions for that block. After the timer rings, you take a short break, just a few minutes. Importantly, no Wi-Fi during the break.
Okay.
Then you repeat the 25-minute focus period. After maybe 3 or 4 rounds, you take a longer break. The authors themselves used it to finish this very book. And its creator, Francesco Cirillo, used it to complete his degree. The key takeaway here is pretty profound. It won't necessarily make you produce perfect work, but it will make you produce something.
That's huge.
Quantity, they argue, is often a prerequisite for quality.
That makes perfect sense. How often do we get stuck striving for perfection right from the outset? This technique just forces you to begin and create volume, knowing that refinement and quality can follow. It's like a powerful counter to that paralysis of perfectionism.
Exactly. It's about overcoming that initial hurdle, that inertia, and just gaining some momentum.
Right. Okay, so our modern lives are just this constant barrage of demands, aren't they? Work, family, health, hobbies, dreams. It's a lot to juggle. The book suggests compartmentalisation as a really powerful coping mechanism. It's about intentionally focusing on one thing and tuning out everything else, like opening one drawer in your mind and firmly closing all the others.
It's not about rigidly categorizing your life, though. It's more about intentional focus. The authors offer a refined 3-step approach. First, you decide what's truly important in your life and put each priority into its own mental room.
Okay.
As you do this, you might realize, wow, I'm spending way too much energy in rooms I don't even care about. This is where tools like the 5-25 rule, which we'll get to later, can help identify your true priorities.
That's a powerful realization in itself, isn't it? Just seeing where your energy is going.
Absolutely.
Their second step is all about mental preparation. Before you sort of enter a new room, whether it's a crucial meeting, going for a jog, or a parent's evening at school, take a moment to mentally prepare. Ask yourself, why am I here? What do I want? What do they want? This brief, deliberate preparation helps you give that task your undivided attention while you're in that room.
And the crucial third step, when you leave a room, you leave the task behind. Mentally close that door. Don't carry issues from your work meeting into your family time, for instance. Briefly jot down key takeaways, then move on. Now, the trade-off, they admit, is that you probably won't achieve 100% perfection in any single area. But the payoff could be achieving a solid 80% across all of them. It fosters a more holistic progress rather than, hyper-optimizing one area at the expense of everything else.
That's a really practical way to manage that feeling of being pulled in too many directions. Okay, next up is rapid prototyping. Why tried is better than perfect. Bill Moggridge, co-founder of the legendary design firm IDEO, he famously said, "The only way to experience an experience is to experience it."
Yeah, I love that quote.
It means instead of just talking about a new product or service, you need to build a rough version and actually put it in people's hands. Even a crude sketch or like a clunky model made from a pizza box can spark unexpected insights.
Exactly. Prototypes don't need to be polished, they just need to convey the core idea or function. Moggridge's mantra was, hold it, use it, talk about it. A rapid prototype, according to IDEO, should be rough, focusing on essentials, like the rocking of a chair, not the material. It should be rapid, produced quickly for iterative testing and feedback. And it needs to be right. It has to answer the original question, solve a real problem.
And this isn't just for physical products, right?
Not at all. It applies to anything: restructuring a team, planning a loft conversion, even redesigning a business card. You create something rough and fast, get feedback, iterate. What's truly powerful here is the idea of embracing failure early on.
Right.
Celebrate failures in those early development loops. We learn so much more from what goes wrong than what goes right, and an early failure saves you from a much bigger, more expensive one down the line.
That's such an important shift in mindset. Perfection is a bastard is kind of the underlying philosophy here, isn't it?
Pretty much.
Aiming for 100% perfection often leads to doing nothing. Good enough is often actually good enough. And iterating along the way beats endless planning. Plus, the book stresses, don't trust your judgment alone. Always seek feedback, especially from your target audience. Criticism becomes a learning opportunity. Like, exercise may be annoying, but good for you.
It's all about that iterative progress and continuous learning, valuing real-world feedback over internal assumptions. It keeps you grounded.
Okay, let's talk about how we communicate, especially now with so much remote work. Bursty communication kind of challenges our assumptions about working from home. We've seen companies like Apple trying to lure employees back to the office.
The serendipitous encounters argument.
Right, even Steve Jobs wanting all the toilets in the central atrium to force those casual chats. But a study by Christoph Riedel and Anita Williams-Woolley offers a different perspective.
Yeah, they found that intensive, rapid-fire digital or in-person exchanges, what they call bursty communication, actually lead to more creativity. It's those moments where you're so inspired that your voice cracks, ideas tumble out, there's laughter and camaraderie.
Okay, so how do we foster that?
Well, the book outlines 5 requirements for effective bursts. Setting limits, keep them brief, max 4 participants. Mixing it up, diverse groups are better, and maybe exclude the chronic cynics.
Huh, interesting.
And surprisingly, maybe turn off cameras and video calls sometimes. It can encourage more voices to be heard. Crucially, trust is paramount. And like any skill, teams get better at online bursts with practice.
So it's a shift from constant, low-level presence to maybe shorter, more intense, focused interaction. Okay, let's tackle the relentless tide of emails, inbox management. This section delves into smart messaging, acknowledging that messages, while essential, often prevent us from actually working. The book suggests we spend almost a third of our workday just reading and processing messages. Now, that figure's probably even higher now, I'd guess.
It likely is. A Microsoft study found slow responders were often seen as ineffective managers, and Adam Grant argues that timely responses signal conscientiousness. Neglecting correspondence can create an impression of unreliability.
So it's a balance.
Exactly. The concept of inbox zero doesn't mean replying to every single email, but having 0 new messages needing attention. The authors rightly point out you don't owe a reply if the sender can easily figure it out themselves.
Right.
But Grant issues a stark warning. Not answering emails today is like refusing to take phone calls in the 1990s or ignoring letters in the 1950s. It's become a core professional expectation.
Okay, so how do we master this deluge without drowning? The book offers 3 strategies. First, take your time. Sloppier replies just lead to more follow-up questions.
Good point.
Second, learn to say no directly. Whether it's, I don't know, I'm afraid I can't take this on right now, or even, I'd rather not answer that. And third, my favorite, yesterboxing.
Yesterboxing. Tell me more.
Devised by Tony Hsieh, the late Zappos CEO. You set aside maybe an hour, once a day, to read and reply only to messages from the past 24 hours. You'll be amazed how many issues resolve themselves before you even get to them.
That's clever. What's fascinating here is the implicit permission it gives you to step away from constant digital immediacy and reclaim your focus time. It's about being deliberate rather than reactive, understanding that not every single message demands an instant response.
Definitely. Okay, next, let's talk about getting organized without getting overwhelmed, using Kanban. We've all felt that to-do overload, right? That paralysis when you have too many projects going and end up doing a little of everything but finishing nothing.
Oh, absolutely.
The book points to the Zeigarnik effect for this. Planning often stresses us more than the actual execution, as our brains get preoccupied with uncompleted tasks.
Right. This method, Kanban, was developed by Taiichi Ohno at Toyota back in the 1950s. It aims to help you plan less and deliver more, avoiding those production bottlenecks. Kanban has two core roles. First, transparency. Always be clear about what you're planning, doing, and have done. And second, breaking down big tasks. Parcel them into smaller, manageable subtasks so you can start immediately. It's truly about plan less, do more.
And the core of Kanban is a visual board, a sign board.
Yep.
You simply mark out 3 columns: to do, doing, and done.
Simple, visual.
Exactly. You rate each subtask on a Post-it or index card, briefly assess it maybe, and then the crucial step. You physically move the Post-it as you start working to doing, and when you complete it to done. This physical action really shifts your focus.
But the key differentiator, the thing that makes it more than just a to-do list, is the work in progress, WIP limit.
The WIP limit.
Right. You limit the number of sticky notes allowed in each column, especially the doing column. Ideally, just 1 to 3 tasks at a time. This forces your brain to focus all its resources on the task at hand, rather than trying to remember loads of open loops. A few finished subtasks are far more useful than many half-done ones. It optimizes for completion and flow.
That makes so much sense. Moving on, how often do we fixate on the immediate problem without really understanding what caused it? The 5 whys method seems like a brilliant tool for problem solving. It tackles the idea that both major catastrophes and everyday problems have immediate and underlying causes.
Yep.
We often despair at the trigger without understanding the cause trigger.
Exactly. The method is deceptively simple. Just keep asking why until you identify the root cause. The crucial part is ensuring you have the right answer to one why before asking the next. Don't just guess. The book gives a great example from tennis. 1. Why do my backhand shots go out? Because my timing is off. 2. Why is my timing off? Because I'm always a step behind the ball. 3. Why am I always a step behind? Well, I get out of breath more easily. 4. Why do I get out of breath more easily? Because I'm not training as much. 5. Why am I not training as much? Because it's winter. Boom. Root cause.
That's brilliant. It forces you to dig past those superficial answers to the true core issue. It compels deeper, systematic thought rather than just putting a Band-Aid on a symptom.
And this raises an important question for you listening. Are you truly getting to the heart of your problems, or are you just addressing symptoms? The 5 whys is a powerful analytical tool for gaining that deeper understanding.
Okay, shifting gears slightly, let's talk about getting started when you really don't feel like it. The 5-second rule, popularized by Mel Robbins, is all about that. It's based on her personal story of overcoming unemployment and alcohol problems by using a simple countdown. She recognized what she calls the knowledge-action gap. We know what we should do, but we just don't do it.
Yeah, that gap is real. The book explains that we often procrastinate because, well, we like to make things easy for ourselves. We prefer immediate comfort over difficult but necessary actions. Robbins's personal breakthrough came when she remembered watching a rocket launch countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, liftoff. So her rule is simple. When you know you should do something you don't feel like doing, you count backwards out loud, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then you physically move and act. The psychological basis is linked to the locus of control. The more we believe we're in charge of our lives, the happier we tend to be.
And Robbins offers 2 key insights that I found interesting. 1, procrastination isn't liberating, it's actually draining. Unfinished tasks linger, causing guilt and stress. And 2, getting those annoying tasks done actually gives you a buzz, that little thrill of achievement.
It does. That buzz comes from what chemists call activation energy, the minimum energy needed to start a reaction. Psychologically, it's the energy boost needed to tackle a task, which the countdown can trigger.
So the application is really straightforward. Try it for 3 weeks. Whether it's getting out of bed, going for that jog in bad weather, choosing the bike over the car, count down and just do the right thing. Don't overthink it, just act.
It's a simple, actionable trigger to overcome that initial inertia. Very practical.
Okay, next up, triage. Why you need a decision-making protocol. This concept sounds serious, but it's about having a simple, clear, and binding protocol for decisions, especially when resources or time are short or when there's disagreement.
Mm-hmm. It actually originated with Napoleon's army surgeon, Dominique Jean Larrey, during the Egyptian campaign in the late 1790s. His system dramatically lowered mortality rates and apparently even contributed to Napoleon's military success.
Wow. So what was his system?
For the wounded, Larry asked 3 simple questions. 1, will he survive without help? 2, will he die despite help? 3, will he survive with help? The crucial rule was to treat anyone in that third group immediately, regardless of rank.
That's powerful. How does it apply today?
It has really powerful modern applications in business. For instance, imagine your marketing events during the pre-sale period. You could triage them by ticket sales. Group 1, likely sell out, stop marketing. Group 2, may sell out, allocate budget, start marketing. Group 3, unlikely sell out, stop marketing, maybe cancel.
Right.
The benefit is huge. It frees up valuable time and resources by preventing wasted discussion on fundamentals. It leads to faster, better decision-making when quick action is needed.
It's a clear framework for making those tough calls under pressure. But the book does warn triage is always a trade-off. To gain something, you must sacrifice something else. It forces those necessary, sometimes difficult choices.
It's a powerful decision-making filter, ensuring your effort is directed where it can make the most difference.
Have you ever felt completely stuck, just weighing too many options, especially when the pressure's on? That's paralysis by analysis. How to hold your nerve under pressure. The book starts with Aesop's fable of the fox and the cat.
Ah, yes. The cat has one trick, climbing a tree, and escapes the dogs. The fox has many tricks, hesitates, overthinks, and gets caught.
Exactly. The moral isn't just about having one trick, but that overanalyzing a problem can be debilitating in a crisis. Arthur Ashe, the tennis player, famously called this paralysis by analysis, describing how even star players can lose composure after a mistake. They have options, but they suddenly lose faith in all of them.
It's that feeling of being overwhelmed by choice when you most need clarity. The lesson the book draws is clear. In a crisis or after a failure, don't force yourself to weigh all the options. Instead, try to rediscover a cat-like trust in your abilities.
Easier said than done, maybe. How do you achieve that trust? The book suggests 2 ways. First, change your rhythm. Don't try to force the point. Take a short break, step away during a tough negotiation or job interview, take a breath, return refreshed.
Okay, reset.
Second, trust the odds. When everything seems to be going wrong, remind yourself that statistically you're unlikely to mess up 4 times in a row. Something good is likely to happen next. Have faith in your past successes.
It's about recognizing when your cognitive load is just too high and giving yourself that space to reset. Then rely on your innate competence and, the statistical probability of things eventually turning your way.
Right. Finally, in this section, we have the book of books, Bob. How to remember more of what you read. This is a big one for me. We often consult books to deepen our understanding, but thanks to Ebbinghaus's forgetting curve, we forget most of what we read, barely a third after a day, almost none long term.
It's true. You might read a really powerful historical account, feel like you've grasped it, and then 2 days later you can't remember key details.
Exactly. So to combat this, the authors share their favorite 5-step method. First, underline important passages while reading.
Okay.
Second, at the end of each chapter, review those underlined sections. If they're still important, summarize the key points or your thoughts on Post-it notes and attach them to the top of the page.
Post-its.
Yeah.
Practical.
Third, once you finish the book, all those Post-its will stick out, allowing for a quick review of the key takeaways. Fourth, write a brief summary at the very end of the book itself. What is this book really about? What did I take away? And fifth, maybe store your notes digitally so you can easily search them years later.
That's quite a system.
And then there's the actual book of books, or Bob. This is essentially a reading diary where you'd record which books you've read and when. It can be a simple notebook or digital. Pamela Paul's book, My Life with Bob, is a public example of this. It's a great way to remember books, a lovely souvenir, and also a reminder of who you were at that time. The book wisely notes, we buy more books than we read, and read more than we can remember. So this method directly tackles that common frustration. Okay, so you've started making progress on those daily tasks, maybe using Pomodoros or Kanban. But what about the bigger picture? How do you tackle those overwhelming projects that seem to last forever? That's where strategic preparation really comes into play.
Right. The book describes life as a kind of building site, where projects rarely go exactly as planned, but they're absolutely essential. Every project, despite its uniqueness, shares common parameters. resources, things like money, knowledge, people, and the time you need to achieve a certain level of quality.
So how do we manage those parameters? The authors propose a 7-step project management process. It begins, naturally, with idea generation. Where do these projects even start?
Well, ideas often come uninvited, don't they? From conversations, reading, walks, even boredom. The crucial rule here, they say, is to write them down, chew them over, but never evaluate them immediately. Give them space to breathe.
Okay, capture first, judge later. Then you move to goal setting. An idea isn't a goal yet. I want to start a pepper business. That's an idea. I want restaurant X to have my pepper on its tables by this time next year. That's a goal. A goal is basically an idea with a specific timeline, a deadline.
Exactly. The third step is resource allocation and planning. This involves identifying what you have time, money, people, and maybe what you're missing. The book wisely notes that your initial right order of things will often prove wrong, prompting you to refine your ideas and goals. They emphasize this is more like a marriage than a wedding, an ongoing adaptive process, not a one-off event.
I like that analogy. After all that preparation, the 4th step is deceptively simple. Start working. This often means head down, focused work.
Getting into it.
But then comes the inevitable 5th step. Give yourself a kick up the arse.
We all need that sometimes.
Every project hits a wall, right?
Yeah.
Motivation wanes, faith is lost. This is where those tools we discussed earlier become indispensable. The Pomodoro Technique, the 5-second rule, to just push you forward to the dip.
The 6th step is get ready to sprint. The scramble to meet deadlines seems unavoidable. Parkinson's law reminds us that work expands so as to fill the time available for its completion. So you need to prepare for that final push early on.
Don't leave it all to the last minute.
Ideally. And finally, the 7th step. Look back and then ahead. Regardless of whether you achieve the goal exactly as planned, toast all endings. Reflect on the journey. What did you learn? Would you do it again? What's next? It's about capturing those lessons for future endeavors.
That reflection piece is so often missed.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about money and budgeting, how to estimate costs accurately. The book presents different estimation methods, each offering, varying levels of speed and precision.
Right. You have quick ones like a top-down estimate where you get a general overview for straightforward projects, or an estimate based on experience for projects similar to past ones. You take the old costs and add maybe 10% because, well, costs always rise.
Good rule of thumb.
For more precision, there's approximation, where you work out the average cost of elements based on best, worst, and most likely scenarios. And for highly complex projects, the bottom-up estimate is the most precise. You ask subject matter experts for individual costs and then sum them all up. It's really about choosing the right tool for the level of complexity and accuracy needed.
Makes sense. Okay, once you've got your plan, how do you decide what to tackle first and what can maybe wait? That's where batching offers a brilliant shortcut. It means doing things in bundles, like doing a week's worth of laundry all at once.
The core question here is whether the costs for delaying a solution will be linear or nonlinear.
Linear versus nonlinear costs.
Okay.
The book uses a brilliant analogy of 3 scenarios. 1, linear costs.
Right.
Sock. If you don't wash a dirty sock right away, the consequences don't really escalate exponentially. It just stays dirty. So you can let these kinds of tasks accumulate and then batch them.
Right, like replying to non-urgent emails.
Exactly. 2, nonlinear costs. Roof tile. If you don't fix a broken roof tile immediately, the rain might get in, causing potentially exponentially increasing damage, damp, rot, etc. Here, you must act immediately, even if it doesn't look bad initially.
The urgency needed. 3, self-resolving dummy withdrawal. Think of a child having a tantrum over losing their dummy or pacifier. The short-term pain might feel exponential, but the problem will eventually resolve itself. The best strategy here is often to hold off and do nothing. Let it pass.
That's a brave strategy sometimes. So, when facing a problem, you ask yourself, is it a sock, a roof tile, or a dummy? Then act accordingly.
It's a surprisingly powerful decision-making filter, isn't it? Ensuring your effort is proportional to the nature of the problem.
Definitely. Now, when facing difficult decisions, we often ask friends or experts for advice. But what happens when their opinions differ? The Delphi method provides a structured way to seek advice.
Right. This method was actually developed by the U.S. military back in the 1950s for getting accurate forecasts on major endeavors like invasions or big investments.
Okay, serious stuff.
It involves asking several experts individually for their appraisal, then anonymizing their feedback. In a second round, the experts get to see their colleagues' anonymized assessments and have a chance to review their own opinion. The idea is that even experts have blind spots, and confronting them with anonymized peer opinions helps them refine their own thinking without, losing face.
So it avoids groupthink and ego getting in the way.
Precisely. It's about prioritizing knowledge over affinity or hierarchy. You consult people who know most, not just people you like most.
That's good discipline. Okay, the humble to-do list. It's an ancient organizational tool, and the section on the to-do list, how to plan your workday more elegantly, explores why it's so effective.
Its power really lies in psychological principles, like the Zeigarnik effect, which we touched on earlier. Our brains are more preoccupied with uncompleted tasks than completed ones. Think of restaurant staff remembering unserved orders better than served ones.
Right, that unfinished business feeling.
And then there's the Aufsehen-Keine effect, where interrupted tasks create a strong urge to act to finish them. These combine. Writing things down frees your mind to concentrate, Zeigarnik, and the list itself acts as an unfinished task, compelling your brain to complete it, Aufsehen-Keine. Ticking things off signifies achievement.
But it's not just about listing things, is it? The book mentions techniques.
Exactly. Beyond just listing, the book highlights the Ivy Lee method. The evening before, you decide on your 6 key tasks for the next day, ranked by importance. Start with the first, and anything undone goes to the top of the next day's list. This helps prevent that nighttime worry cycle.
Simple, but effective.
Another powerful technique is scheduling, which comes from computer scientist Cal Newport. He argues you should divide your workday into blocks of time, not just tasks. Assign specific time frames to everything focused work, meetings, email checking, even breaks or messing about time.
Blocking it all out.
Yeah, he suggests maybe 7 to 9 blocks a day, each at least 20 minutes long, and tackle the demanding tasks first thing in the morning when concentration is usually best. But the key here really is personalization. Find what schedule, what rhythm suits you. It's about being intentional with your time, reclaiming control, rather than letting your day be dictated by random demands or distractions.
Let's talk about motivation. How much should you challenge yourself? Our attitude to challenge, it turns out, depends heavily on our expectation of success.
Yeah, psychologist John Atkinson used a great pebble-throwing analogy. He observed people throwing pebbles at a target. Some chose to stand really close, too easy, or really far away, too difficult. These people, he argued, were motivated by avoiding failure.
Interesting. How so?
Well, if it's too easy, you can't fail. If it's practically impossible, well, no one expected you to succeed anyway, so failure doesn't sting. But then there were those who chose to stand at a middling distance, challenging but doable. These people were motivated by achieving success. And your expectation of success, in turn, is strongly linked to your previous experience. Early success makes you more likely to expect success again. So when facing a significant challenge, Atkinson suggested asking yourself, have you ever passed a test? If so, how did you do it? This simple question helps activate those previous experiences of achievement and builds confidence.
That's a neat trick. From motivation, we pivot to deep work. How to focus despite your smartphone constantly buzzing. Cal Newport again. He distinguishes between deep work and shallow work.
Right. Deep work is that immersive, continuous focus on one cognitively demanding task without interruptions. It's where you produce your best stuff, and it actually gives deep satisfaction.
And shallow work.
Shallow work is, well, the opposite. Erratic, superficial, easy, routine tasks like emails, admin, software updates, and of course, distractions like social media that thinly slice your attention. The problem is profound. Constantly interrupted work leads to disengagement, loss of concentration, and inefficiency. Newport argues it can permanently reduce your ability to concentrate over time.
Scary thought. So how do we cultivate deep work?
The book offers 4 techniques based on Newport's work. First, take your time. Block out significant chunks of time in your calendar, specifically for deep work. Maybe up to 4 hours a day, but less than an hour isn't really worth it. Second, learn to be bored. Resist the urge to reach for your smartphone in every idle moment, like at a bus stop or waiting in line. This hones concentration.
Harder than it sounds.
Third, evaluate your social media. Identify which platforms you truly need versus just use. Consider keeping just one, maybe, to gain invaluable time back. And fourth, devise rituals. Create specific routines or environments that signal to your brain it's time for deep work, like a specific chair, a particular time of day, a pre-work walk.
So what does this all mean for you listening? Your ability to concentrate deeply is arguably your biggest competitive edge in this incredibly distracted world. It's about being intentional with your focus.
Absolutely. It's a skill that needs to be cultivated, recognizing that true productivity isn't about constant busyness, but focused impact and meaningful output.
Let's clarify some common workplace terms that often get misused. Tactics versus strategies. Why you need a strategy and several tactics. These words are distinct, but both are essential for success.
Definitely. A strategy is the overarching plan to achieve a significant goal. Without it, life or business can lack direction. As the saying goes, if you don't have a strategy, you are part of someone else's strategy. It's the long-term answer to where do I want to go and which main path will I choose.
Okay, the big picture.
Tactics, on the other hand, are the individual steps, the specific actions taken to pursue that strategy. They are short or medium term and can be tried, rejected, adapted along the way. They go together. Strategy is the forest, tactics are the trees. You need both.
Sun Tzu had something to say about this, didn't he?
He did, a famous aphorism. Strategy without tactics is the slowest route to victory. Tactics without strategy is the noise before defeat.
Powerful. And there's a crucial warning in the book, too. A good strategy without effective tactics is just hot air. But energetically implementing the wrong strategy just results in mindless activity.
Exactly. It's all about that alignment between the grand vision and the concrete execution.
Moving to a more modern concept, new work. What does it actually mean to be agile? The book argues agile isn't just a technique or a buzzword, it's an attitude born from frustration with rigid, traditional processes.
Yeah, the book uses a great, simple example. Imagine wanting to cool down some children on a hot day. The initial plan, go to the lake, fails. Maybe it's too crowded. The kids suggest the swimming pool, plan B, but that fails too. Maybe it's closed. Then a joint idea emerges. Have a water pistol fight in the garden.
Fun.
It's different from the original plan, but it still achieves the core goal, cooling down and having fun. That's agility, adapting as you go, making your own path as you walk, not rigidly sticking to the first idea.
How does this apply in, say, software development?
In software, it means dividing projects into short sprints and continually adjusting based on feedback. Crucially, client or management feedback is sought along the way, not just dumped on the team at the very end. The agile attitude towards reality is that you can't fully plan it because things never turn out exactly as expected. The client becomes a contributor, a collaborator, not just a judge at the finish line.
In Agile's themes.
They should ideally organize themselves, which can lead to varied working styles and sometimes tension. A good team thrives with autonomy. A bad one just fails faster, perhaps. The key is knowing when agility is needed and when a more traditional approach is fine.
Finally, in this strategic section, we have routines. Why you should do the same things every day. Routine often carries these negative connotations, doesn't it? Makes us think of automatons or just sheer boredom.
It does. But the book argues that routines, rituals, traditions, these are actually really good for our physical and psychological well-being. They provide much-needed predictability and consistency. They are, as the book calls them, life's railings.
Life's railings. I like that. What's the benefit?
The benefit is clear. Daily routines reduce the need for us to make basic, everyday decisions. What to wear, what to eat for breakfast. This frees up mental energy for new, exciting, more complex things. The key question then becomes, what do you do with the time and energy you've gained from having strict routines?
But they're hard to stick to, aren't they?
Definitely. The challenge is that while routines are easy to get excited about, they are hard to keep. Maintaining them requires strength, courage, and concentration. To implement this, the book suggests a simple exercise. List your current habits, good and bad. Then list habits you'd like to acquire. Choose 2 bad habits to replace with 2 from your new list. Repeat this process every 6 months or so.
So what does this all mean? The challenge isn't really whether to have routines, but deciding which few are most important to you and figuring out how to actually stick with them. It's about intentional habit formation to create stability and free up that precious mental bandwidth. Okay, let's shift our focus now to influencing others. How do we get people on board, get them to do things? Starting with a really powerful insight about appreciation. Why you should say thank you rather than sorry. Imagine you're in a restaurant, your food is taking ages.
We've all been there.
Right. When the waiter finally arrives, instead of saying, "I'm so sorry for the long wait," he says, "Thank you so much for being so patient." How does that feel different?
It feels much better, doesn't it? And this isn't just anecdotal. A study showed that customers who were thanked for their patience actually rated the restaurant higher, were more likely to return, and more likely to recommend it, compared to those who just got an apology.
Why is that?
Well, an apology focuses on the wrongdoer, on their mistake. Gratitude, saying thank you, focuses on the recipient. It affirms them, makes them look good for their patience or understanding. This makes both parties feel better. Apologies, on the other hand, are often met with skepticism, indifference, or even condescension sometimes.
So the guideline is,
Save sincere apologies for when you've genuinely treated someone unfairly or made a significant error. In everyday life, try switching from sorry to thank you. Thank you for spotting that typo, not, oh, sorry, how silly of me. Thank you for waiting, not sorry I'm late. Thank you for listening, not sorry I've been doing all the talking. It takes practice, but saying thank you sincerely with eye contact works wonders.
it's a subtle but really impactful reframing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It moves from a defensive posture to one of appreciation and empowers the other person, builds goodwill.
Exactly. It's a powerful way to build connection and diffuse potential negativity.
Next, something potentially more challenging. Radical transparency. How to value criticism. The asset management firm Bridgewater Associates, run by Ray Dalio, famously operates on this principle. It's a culture where anyone can criticize anyone, apparently, and it's even demanded.
Yeah, Dalio tells a story about getting a D grade from a junior staff member on his meeting performance. Instead of getting defensive, he asked for more feedback and shared it openly with all staff.
Wow. Takes guts.
This culture emerged after Dalio made a wrong call that nearly bankrupted his firm. He decided he needed to constantly ask, "Am I right?" whenever he thought he was. To ensure honesty, he laid down 2 core rules. Radical transparency, meaning everyone knows pretty much everything. Hierarchies exist, but there are no secrets. And radical truthfulness, meaning brutal honesty, delivered respectfully, so people get used to criticism and learn more from it.
But psychologically, criticism makes us defensive, doesn't it?
Instinctively, yes. We seek comfort from those who reassure us. But Bridgewater believes criticism is extremely useful if handled correctly. The aim is for internal and external voices to coincide, to say what you genuinely think. They argue this is liberating. It removes guesswork and fosters deep trust. Expressing criticism respectfully means recognizing the other person as autonomous and capable of handling the truth.
The authors themselves experience this.
They did. They mentioned ruthless criticism on their book manuscript that almost killed it, but they realized it ultimately improved the product immensely. It takes getting used to, for sure.
So how could you even begin to implement this? The book gives 3 rules. First, ask for agreement. Get your team, partner, family, whoever, to agree to try radical transparency for a defined period, a week, a month, a specific project.
Okay, a trial run?
Second, communicate with care. Criticize as if you're talking to someone you genuinely care about. Be understanding, helpful, never intentionally hurtful. Third, communicate directly and immediately. No passive-aggressive behavior, no scoring things up for years, no roundabout ways. After the trial period, discuss the effects. If positive, maybe extend it.
It's certainly a deep dive into fostering genuine, direct feedback for continuous improvement. Challenging, but potentially transformative.
Now, a common scenario. Giving feedback, maybe in a performance review. Sandwich feedback. Do you want the good news or bad news first? Psychologists Angela Legg and Kate Sweeney studied this very question.
And the results were interesting. They found that over 75% of people receiving news want the bad news first. Get it over with.
Okay, but
nearly 70% of people giving the news prefer to convey the good news first, probably because they want to soften the blow, avoid upsetting the other person.
so there's a mismatch.
A definite mismatch. Recipients want the bad news out of the way so they can be comforted by the good news afterwards. The end of a message tends to linger. The psychologists found that the sequence can actually influence the recipient's reaction.
How so?
Giving good news then, bad news, like, your blood test results are generally fine, but you're significantly overweight, is apparently best for motivating someone to change. It leaves them feeling a bit deflated, which can potentially prompt action.
Okay, and the other way around.
Bad news then, good news, like, you've put on weight again, but I love you just the way you are, is best for bringing something to attention without completely demoralizing the person.
And the classic sandwich strategy. Praise, then criticism, then more praise.
Yeah, the popular technique used to end on a high note. The study found it often looks better than it tastes. The bad news can get lost in too much praise, or the recipient just sees the praise as cheap filler to cushion the blow.
So what's most important?
More important than the exact sequence, they say, is the overall tone and the setting. Delivering feedback constructively and respectfully is key. Shane Parrish has a great line, "Make others look good in front of the people they care about most."
This really highlights the importance of tailoring your feedback approach, not just to the message, but to the desired outcome and the emotional state of the recipient. It's complex.
It is. It requires being strategic and empathetic in your delivery.
Let's face it, we don't always get to pick our teammates or colleagues. Likability.
Yeah.
How to work with people you don't like delves into the two key parameters of teamwork: competence and likability.
The book identifies 4 fun archetypes. 1, the competent jerk, brilliant at their job, but maybe abrasive or difficult to work with. Think of certain famous tech CEOs, perhaps. 2, the lovable fool, maybe not the sharpest tool in the box, but great company, boosts morale, like a Homer Simpson type. 3, the lovable star, the unicorn, both clever and likable. 4, the incompetent jerk, useless and loathsome, avoid if possible.
Okay, so who do people really prefer to work with?
Well, research by Tiziana Casciaro and Miguel Lobo had a surprising finding. While people say they'd prefer to work with a competent jerk over a lovable fool, in practice, likability turns out to be more important.
Really? More important than competence?
If someone is strongly disliked, their competence becomes almost irrelevant. Colleagues avoid them. But if someone is liked, even if they're not a superstar, colleagues will actively seek out every little bit of competence they possess and help them succeed.
Wow.
Working with people you like leads to openness, helpfulness, and trust. However, there's a downside to only working with friends. You might stifle fresh ideas due to similar thinking. And competent jerk skills often remain underused. So a mix of types is actually important.
So the big question, how do you work effectively with someone you genuinely dislike or have nothing in common with?
The solution, the book suggests, is quite pragmatic. Trust often stems from perceived similarity. To bridge that gap with someone you dislike, try to consciously remember that they are helping you achieve a shared goal. Once you realize their specific skills can solve a problem for you, the lack of personal affinity becomes less important. Skepticism can vanish when utility enters the picture.
So the action step is, show them how you can help them, and simultaneously try to find out how they can help you. It's about focusing on the transactional value of skills in the shared objective, rather than getting bogged down in personal chemistry or lack thereof.
Exactly. It's about finding that common ground through shared utility and mutual benefit. A very practical approach.
It's not what you know, it's who you know. That old phrase highlights the indispensability of networks. The theory of small gifts, who should you work with, delves into this, using Reid Hoffman, the LinkedIn co-founder's 4 relationship types. He argues that how people embark on new relationships reveals their true nature.
Right. Hoffman describes 3 types of relationships that are basically transactional. Type 1 is pure quid pro quo. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, wanting an instant return. Type 2 is slightly longer-term utilitarian. I'll do you a favor, but you owe me one. Type 3 is about mutual investment. I'm investing in this relationship, and I expect you to do the same.
What's the problem with those? They sound fairly normal.
They're fine for one-off deals, maybe. But Hoffman argues they're unsuited for deep, long-term partnerships or collaborations. People in these modes tend to overestimate their own contribution and underestimate their partners.
Okay. So what's the 4th type?
The 4th type is driven by a different principle. I will invest in this relationship because it's the right thing to do. These people don't operate on a spreadsheet of expecting something specific back. This approach, perhaps counterintuitively, leads to more stable, trusting, and ultimately productive working relationships. As the book says, the less we want, the more we'll get. The prerequisite here, of course, is trust.
So how do you signal you're this type?
The approach, dubbed the theory of small gifts, is to clearly show your willingness to contribute value from the start without calculating the return. Act how you'd like them to act towards you. Examples of these small gifts could be offering to make relevant introductions within your network. Simply bringing the right people together can be priceless.
It's about generosity and long-term thinking.
Ah.
Okay, brainstorming. Why more is more? Alex Osborne, the O in the advertising agency BBDO, popularized brainstorming back in 1948. He believed groups could generate ideas that individuals, working alone, wouldn't.
And he had 2 famous rules for successful teamwork and brainstorming. First, no criticism. He said, creativity is so delicate a flower that praise tends to make it bloom while discouragement often nips it in the bud.
Nice quote.
Second, more is more. Quantity over quality initially. Forget quality. Aim to get a quantity of answers. Even ridiculous nonsense is fine in the idea generation phase.
But does research back this up? Do groups always generate better ideas?
Well, the research is actually mixed. Some studies show groups don't always generate better ideas than individuals working alone, and sometimes criticism can actually be stimulating. But some individuals definitely do come up with more ideas in a group setting. Perhaps the unspoken benefit Osborne tapped into is this. When ideas are developed together, collaboratively, individual ownership fades. This can lead to unexpected team spirit, genuine enthusiasm, and strong commitment to the chosen ideas.
But traditional brainstorming, people yelling ideas at a flip chart, has problems, right?
Oh, definitely. Introverted or insecure people might remain silent. Fear of looking silly stifles unconventional thinking, and groupthink can take over, where popular ideas dominate and suppress alternatives.
So what's a better method?
The book strongly advocates written brainstorming, sometimes called brainwriting. The key difference is that everyone writes their ideas down individually and before any group discussion, solidification, or evaluation happens.
How does that work in practice?
It typically has 3 stages. An analytic stage, where you pose specific questions to stimulate and channel creativity, for example, for renaming a company. What animal is our company like? What would teenagers call it? Then a creative stage, where everyone generates answers, maybe writing ideas and passing them around for others to build on, or even creating visual collages. The aim is to avoid stopping at the first, most obvious ideas. Finally, a critical stage, where you solidify and filter the ideas. Only workable solutions make the cut, and ideas should be presented consistently for fair comparison.
That sounds much more structured and inclusive. Okay, so after a good brainstorming session like that, you've got a bunch of ideas. Now the hard part, deciding which one to actually pursue. This can be a minefield, the book says, prone to pitfalls.
Absolutely. Teams can become too compromise-happy, maybe mushing several good ideas into one mediocre one. Or they settle for tenuous reasons like, it just feels right, or the boss imposes their favorite. Or they postpone the decision by bringing in endless experts. This often leads to passive-aggressive frustration.
So how do you compare ideas effectively? That's structured evaluation.
The technique is to evaluate the ideas as a group, even if the final decision rests with leadership. This ensures a broadly supported initial recommendation and helps break down those progress-hindering hierarchies or personal biases.
What are the rules?
2 main rules for proper evaluation. First, equal formulation and presentation. All ideas must have similar substance and visual presentation for fair comparison. Either all have visuals or none do. Second, limit comparison. Never try to compare more than, say, 7 ideas at once. Short list if necessary to avoid overwhelm.
And the process?
It typically involves creating an Excel table. You list the participants, the ideas, and maybe 2-3 key parameters relevant to the original problem. Example, success likelihood, 110. Is it realistic? Is it genuinely new? How quick is it to implement? Each idea is presented briefly. Then each person privately rates the idea against the parameters. These ratings are collected in the table. After all ideas are rated, participants might also rank them best to worst.
Then you just...
Exactly. After a short break, the group discusses the results. You look at ideas with high average ratings, those strong in one particular parameter, maybe polarizing ideas with high disagreement, and who gave which ratings. You identify the overall standout ideas and compile a clear written recommendation for the ultimate decision maker. It brings structure and data to what can otherwise be a very messy, subjective process.
All right, let's move into our next section. Doing things differently, adapting, innovating, starting with the circle of competence. Why you should say, I don't know, more often. This sounds like a crucial thinking tool popularized by Warren Buffett.
It really is. Buffett's principle is famously simple. Don't invest in what you don't understand. Knowing the boundaries of your personal circle of competence, what you truly know and understand deeply, is vital. Interestingly, he says the size of the circle is less important than knowing where the edges are.
How does this apply beyond investing?
It applies directly to your professional expertise. Ask yourself, what do I genuinely know a lot about? What subjects would I like to truly become an expert in? The goal is to excel at what you can do well, rather than pursuing mediocrity in areas where you lack deep understanding or skill.
Are there exceptions?
Yes, the book notes 2 main ones. First, young people shouldn't specialize too early. They should try different things, fail, restart, explore to find their passion and strengths. Second, in your personal life, do whatever brings you joy regardless of your skill level. This is about professional focus.
So how do you maintain your circle?
It requires 2 key things. First, focus. Real willpower, discipline, almost an obsessiveness to become a true specialist in your chosen area. Second, learning to say no. Your time is limited. You can't absorb everything, jump on every trend, or have an informed opinion on every single topic.
And the circle isn't fixed, is it?
Not at all. It's constantly in motion. Even established experts must keep learning something new every day just to maintain their edge within their circle. The key insight is that understanding your circle means not deceiving yourself or others. Don't talk confidently about things you know little about or tackle tasks you'll likely never master.
And the paradoxical benefit of saying, I don't know.
Confessing ignorance, when genuine, paradoxically builds trust. It shows self-awareness, and the more you know what you don't know, the more inquisitive and receptive you become to those who do know. It opens you up to learning.
From knowing what you know to knowing what you truly want. The 5-2-5 rule. This method, often wrongly ascribed to Warren Buffett but powerful nonetheless, is about ensuring you spend your life doing what you truly love, getting your priorities right, and ultimately avoiding regret.
Yeah, it's a stark exercise. Here's how it works. Step 1. Write down 25 things you want to achieve in your life, or maybe just in the next year. Be ambitious. Step 2. Now, carefully review that list and highlight the 5 most important items. Take your time with this. It's crucial. Step 3. Look at the 20 goals you didn't highlight. These are now Group B. The instruction is blunt. Cross them out. Never think of those 20 goals again.
Wow, just cross them out.
That's the exercise. The rationale is that these 20 goals, while maybe important or appealing, will ultimately distract you. They'll pull energy and focus away from achieving your 5 most important goals. Step 4. Devote your life, your energy, your focus to achieving the 5 goals in Group A. These 5 goals effectively become your circle of competence for your life's work or ambitions.
It's really about managing opportunity costs, isn't it? Saying no to many possibilities to focus intensely on a few. You just can't do, know, or be everything.
Precisely. The underlying philosophy seems to be, love springs from devotion, not attraction. Immersing yourself deeply in something is the surest way never to lose heart. It's about commitment yielding fulfillment.
That's deep. Okay, what about when you feel ineffectual, powerless, or just frustrated by things outside your control? The circle of influence can help. This concept is inspired by Reinhold Niebuhr's famous serenity prayer.
God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Stephen R. Covey, in The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, turned this into a practical exercise.
How does it work?
You imagine 3 concentric circles. The outer circle is your circle of concern. This contains all the things that bother you or you worry about, but you can't actually do anything about global events, past mistakes, the political climate, what others think of you, even others' flaws. You have 0 direct control here.
Okay, stuff we fret about.
The center circle is your circle of control. This contains things that are entirely in your hands, the foods you choose to eat, the people you spend time with, the books you read, the films you watch. These might seem trivial, but they can be powerfully impactful on your well-being.
And the middle circle.
The middle circle is your circle of influence. These are things not directly in your hands, but which you might be able to influence through your own attitude or behavior. For example, living more sustainably to have some impact on climate change, exercising to improve your health despite genetics, or, crucially, controlling your reaction to events happening in your circle of concern.
So what's the learning?
The learning is profound. Focusing your energy and attention primarily on the circle of concern leads to feelings of helplessness, victimhood, and ineffectuality. But focusing your energy on the circle of control and influence the things you can actually do something about leads to confidence, proactivity, and reduced anxiety.
That's a fundamental mental shift, isn't it? Moving from reactivity to proactivity, empowering yourself by focusing on what truly matters and what you can actually impact.
It's all about where you consciously direct your energy and attention. A very powerful framework.
How do established industries sometimes miss the boat entirely on groundbreaking ideas? Disruptive innovation explores why, using examples like Airbnb potentially replacing hotels. This concept comes from the late, great Clayton Christensen, a highly influential business thinker.
Right. He looked at why industry leaders like Nokia with smartphones, the music industry with digital music, retail with Amazon, cinemas with Netflix often fail to capitalize on trailblazing innovations that ultimately upend their markets.
Why does that happen?
Christensen distinguished between 2 types of innovation. First, sustaining innovation. This is what established companies usually do well, improving their existing products, making them better, faster, maybe more luxurious, often so they can charge higher prices. Think incrementally better cars or TVs. This often leads to overshooting what mainstream customers actually need or want.
Okay, refinement. What's the other type?
The other type is disruptive innovation. This involves launching entirely new products, services, or technologies that fundamentally rewrite the rules of the market. They often start quietly, maybe serving overlooked niches, and they outflank the leaders with a different kind of value proposition, not just a marginally better version of the existing one. Think of the first personal computers versus mainframes, or indeed Airbnb versus traditional hotels.
How does the disruption unfold?
Established firms often first ignore the disruptor, then maybe ridicule it for being different or inferior by traditional metrics. While they're mocking, the disruptor quietly gains market share, often starting at the low end. Then the established firms take it seriously, try to fight it or buy it, but often it's too late, and they eventually get sidelined or removed from the equation.
So the key quality isn't always radical new tech.
Not necessarily. It's often a radical break from the existing market logic and value systems. Airbnb's core idea wasn't complex tech. It was the radical idea of people renting out their spare rooms or homes to strangers. This creates the famous innovator's dilemma for established companies. Improving existing products brings reliable short-term profit, but carries the long-term risk of being overtaken. Betting big on a potentially disruptive innovation, however, is often an unquantifiable risk early on.
So the practical application for planning.
Don't just ask, how can my best cow produce even more milk? Also, force yourself to ask, what's the oat milk equivalent emerging in my industry? Or what seemingly crazy idea did I dismiss a few years ago that now looks like it might actually be catching on? It's about looking beyond your current success formula.
Change is notoriously tough, both in organizations and our personal lives. Kotter's 8-step model of change addresses why. John Kotter argued back in 1996 that resistance to change often stems from people perceiving the change primarily as a threat, a loss.
His 8-step model is considered a gold standard for change management. It's applicable to huge corporate restructures, but also to significant personal life changes. The steps provide a roadmap.
Can you walk us through them briefly?
Sure. Step 1. Create a sense of urgency. Explain why the change is absolutely necessary for everyone. Step 2. Build a guiding coalition. Don't try to push change alone. Form a diverse change team. Step 3. Formulate a strategic vision, a clear, credible, ambitious, yet achievable picture of the future. Step 4. Communicate your vision relentlessly, consistently through words and actions.
Okay, halfway there.
Step 5. Remove obstacles. Address reluctant individuals or outdated systems that block progress. Step 6. Generate short-term wins. Create quick, visible successes to maintain momentum and morale during long change processes. Step 7. Stick with it or consolidate gains. Don't declare victory too early. Keep pushing until the change is truly implemented. And Step 8. Embed the change in the culture. Integrate the new ways of working into the core values and norms so they stick long-term.
It really emphasizes that managing change is as much about managing people's perceptions, emotions, and buy-in as it is about the practical steps.
Absolutely. It's a very human-centric approach to a difficult process.
We touched on this briefly, but the traditional 3-step life plan education, then work family, then retirement, feels increasingly outdated, doesn't it? A new map of life. Why you shouldn't start working until you're 40. Okay, maybe a provocative title. Challenges our current life arrangement.
Yeah, Laura Karstensen from the Stanford Center on Longevity makes some powerful observations. First, we're living much longer. A 40-year-old today can expect to live, on average, another 45 years or more in many developed countries. Second, we're staying healthier for longer. Many 65-year-olds are fit, experienced, and want to keep contributing, but the jobs often aren't there, or society expects them to retire.
So what's the problem?
The problem is we've essentially just tacked 20 or 30 extra years onto the end of the old life model, a longer retirement, instead of fundamentally rethinking how we use that entire extended lifespan.
So what's the alternative?
Karstensen's New Map of Life initiative is a call for a wholesale redesign of how we structure our lives, moving from seeing it as a breathless sprint in midlife to more of a steady, adaptable marathon spread over many decades. Instead of cramming everything, education, career building, raising kids into the years between 20 and 65, she proposes tackling things more sequentially, perhaps between 20 and 80.
How would that work?
It allows for periods of intense work, but also periods of dialing down, maybe going back for further education or retraining mid-career, periods focused primarily on family, then maybe ramping work back up again. The sequence could be much more flexible and personalized. You could have children first, then college, then career. Or career first, slow down for children, then reaccelerate later.
What are the underlying premises for this shift?
2 main ones. First, we need to end the societal obsession with youth and recognize the valuable skills and perspectives older people bring. Second, we need to end the obsession with constant speed and hyper-productivity. If we're potentially working in some capacity until 75 or 80, we must avoid burnout. We need periods of rest and renewal integrated throughout life, not just saved for retirement.
How can we apply this practically?
Well, individually, we can start thinking longer term about our careers and skills. Seek or create projects and roles that support more flexibility. Maybe consider multi-generational living arrangements. At a societal level, HR departments need to explore meaningful roles for older staff, not just push them towards retirement. The key takeaway is, the sooner you embrace the reality of a potentially much longer active life ahead and consciously plan how you want to navigate and fill it, the better equipped you'll be.
Okay, let's wrap things up now by looking at what to do after you've done the things. Reflecting on achievements, learning from them, starting with project evaluation. How to assess your own work. The book argues the classic success metric, do we achieve the goal within the time frame and budget, is flawed.
It is flawed because it only assesses the product, the outcome, not the process of how you got there.
Why is evaluating the process so important?
Because evaluating only the goal achievement, like a professor grading students only on the final paper's quality and deadline without considering how they researched or wrote it, wastes huge learning opportunities. This applies whether the project was a success or a failure by the traditional metric. The shift is to consciously reflect on the process, too. Ask questions like, which approach did we choose and why? How are key decisions made? How is tension or conflict handled within the team? Who played what role? Was a critical role missing?
And the impact.
The good product might affect short-term figures, but a good, healthy, effective process impacts the long-term corporate culture, team morale, and future performance. Think about it. Staff often leave jobs because of a toxic work culture or frustrating processes, not because they dislike the actual product they're working on.
So how do you evaluate the process simply?
The book offers a quick evaluation technique, maybe taking just 30 minutes at the end of a project. It uses what they call the hallowed triumvirate of fun, money, and impact. You ask 3 questions about both the outcome and the process. 1, was it fun, engaging, enjoyable, good teamwork? 2, did we make money from it or achieve the financial resource goal? 3, has it had a positive impact on us, our clients, the world?
And how do you use the answers?
You rate each as yes, no. 3 yeses means heaven, definitely do more like this. 2 yeses is acceptable. 1 yes is the bare minimum required to consider repeating the project or process. 0 yeses. That project or process goes straight on to the not-to-do list. It's a simple yet powerful method to ensure you learn holistically from every endeavor, focusing on sustainable success beyond just hitting a single target. It really drives that continuous improvement loop based on a broader definition of success.
Next, let's tackle the myth of achievement. How much of your success is actually down to luck? Successful people, the book notes, often attribute their success solely to their own hard work, talent, and perseverance, sometimes overlooking the tailwind of luck, privilege, or just good timing.
Yeah, factors like parent support, the country or neighborhood you were born in, access to education, even chance encounters. The reality is stark. Being born in a stable, developed country offers vastly different opportunities than being born into poverty or conflict, regardless of an individual's innate talent or work ethic.
What's the danger of believing purely in the myth of self-made success?
The danger is that if you believe effort alone determines success, then the flip side is that failure must be entirely one's own fault. This can lead to shame, harsh self-judgment, and a lack of empathy for others facing difficulties.
So it's about finding a balance.
Exactly. Hard work, persistence, talent, these are absolutely crucial. Nothing comes from nothing. But we also need to acknowledge that many, many hardworking, talented people never achieve conventional success due to circumstances beyond their control, or just sheer bad luck. Acknowledging the role of coincidence or fortune doesn't diminish your own earned success. It simply fosters humility and recognizes that others might deserve success just as much, but perhaps weren't as fortunate in their circumstances.
Building on that idea, let's look at the Matthew effect,
Mm-hmm.
why you should celebrate your triumphs, big or small. This concept comes from a passage in the Gospel of St. Matthew.
Right. The passage basically says, whoever has will be given more. Whoever does not have, even what he has, will be taken away from him. It sounds a bit harsh, but it describes a real phenomenon.
How does it apply in real life?
It applies broadly. A single foolish act, like getting into debt, can cascade into more problems. Conversely, seizing one opportunity often leads to more opportunities opening up. Success can breed success.
And this isn't just biblical wisdom.
No, sociologist Robert Merton confirmed this effect in science. Famous scientists get cited more often purely because they're already famous, which makes them even more famous and influential. The principle applies in economics. The rich often get richer. And importantly, in psychology, success breeds success.
So what's the practical lesson here?
Particularly in pedagogy, in teaching and learning. To build self-confidence, especially in someone struggling, you need to give them tasks that they can actually accomplish successfully. For adults, this means sometimes it's okay to ski the broad blue piste, the easier run, rather than always pushing yourself on the steep black expert slope. We are fundamentally motivated by experiencing success, however small, not by constant failure. Celebrating small wins builds momentum.
Have you ever felt just completely drained, on the verge of being overworked, tired, irritable, maybe a bit cynical? The transactional model helps you understand what to do when you run out of psychological energy.
Yeah, this comes from Eric Berne's transactional analysis theory. He equated our psychological needs to physical hunger. Just as the body needs carbs, fat, protein to function, the psyche needs regular doses of things like structure, stimuli, and recognition. That feeling of being overworked or irritable often signals a loss of mental energy, a depletion of these psychological nutrients.
How can you check your levels?
The book provides a simple self-check using a SAIL model. You rate yourself, maybe on a scale of 0 to 10, on how well 3 core needs are being met right now. 1. Structure. Is your need for clear processes, binding agreements, and good time management being met? Adults, like children, often thrive on rituals and predictability. 2. Stimuli. Is your need for mental nourishment, new perspectives, interesting challenges, and perhaps real human contact being met, especially in our often digital or remote world? 3. Recognition. Is your need for acknowledgement, attention, positive feedback, constructive criticism, and healthy debate being met? Essentially, are you feeling seen and taken seriously?
And then you connect the dots?
You connect the dots on the diagram. A bigger sail indicates you have a strong psychological tailwind. A smaller sail means you're running low on energy. Tracking this over time can reveal patterns. Ignoring these needs leads to energy loss. Consciously satisfying them boosts your energy reserves.
So it's like checking your fuel gauge.
Exactly. Treat psychological hunger like bodily hunger. If you find yourself in the amber or red zone on your SAIL diagram, ask yourself, which need is most urgent right now, and what's one small thing I can do quickly to help satisfy it? Even better, psychologist Anke von Platten suggests a proactive approach. Don't wait until your energy reserves are totally depleted. Pay attention to your own and your colleagues' psychological resources when things are going well. Ask, what do I need right now to feel satisfied? What's going particularly well for me at the moment, and why? Which success factors are contributing most to my mood and energy?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, knowing our fundamental psychological needs and how to proactively fulfill them seems absolutely key not just to our effectiveness, but to our overall happiness and resilience. It's about sustainable self-management.
Absolutely. It's foundational for long-term well-being and performance.
Now, for a simple but potentially profound practice, journaling. Why you should keep a diary, or at least a specific kind of journal. As the adage goes, you don't see the world as it is, you see it as you are. We can't always change the world, but we can change our attitude towards it. This connects back nicely to the circle of influence.
There was an experiment back in the early 2000s where participants were asked to simply write down 3 good things that had happened each day for a few weeks. The results showed they reported significantly reduced stress levels and increased feelings of well-being compared to a control group.
Just from writing down 3 good things.
Apparently so. This technique, journaling in this context, is inspired by Hebb's rule in neuroscience. Neurons that fire together wire together. It's not about ignoring or blocking out negative experiences, but about actively training your brain to notice and focus on the positives, strengthening those neural pathways.
How do you implement it?
It's incredibly simple. Every evening, before bed perhaps, just take a few minutes to write down 3 good things that happened that day, or maybe yesterday. Even on objectively bad days, try to find something, however small. Maybe you cleaned the kitchen and it felt good, you had an interesting idea, you managed not to vent your anger at someone.
It forces you to scan for the positive.
Exactly. It's a small action that, practiced consistently over time, can genuinely change your attitude towards yourself and the world. The recommendation is to try it every evening for at least 4 weeks and see how you feel.
It sounds like a powerful, low-effort way to actively shape your psychological well-being and cultivate gratitude.
It really is a potentially quiet revolution in your own mind just by paying attention differently.
Finally, we arrive at a fascinating, perhaps paradoxical concept, the law of reversed effort. What to do if your goal itself starts getting in the way? Alan Watts, the philosopher, defined this beautifully. When you try to stay on the surface of the water, you sink. But when you try to sink, you float. Sometimes, to achieve a goal, you should actually do the opposite of what you think you should be doing.
Mark Manson, a popular writer, applies this idea broadly. He argues that the more desperately we cling to something, whether it's achieving perfect looks, getting rich, finding the ideal relationship, or even attaining enlightenment, the more it tends to elude us, or the more inadequate we feel in its pursuit.
So having goals is bad.
Not at all. Having a goal is good. Striving towards something gives direction. Even if you miss the goal, you can learn valuable lessons along the way. The journey itself can become the reward. But when your intense focus on the goal itself becomes an obstacle, when your striving becomes counterproductive, that's when the law of reversed effort might apply.
How can effort be counterproductive?
Think of struggling wildly in quicksand. Your desperate efforts just make you sink faster. Sometimes trying too hard, forcing things, pushing relentlessly can be in vain or even push the goal further away. It creates tension, anxiety, and closes off alternative paths.
So the advice, paradoxically, from a book called The Get Things Done book,
Is that sometimes the one thing you should do is nothing. Or at least stop striving so intensely for that specific outcome. Experience often shows that happiness, success, or insight finds you when you stop chasing it so desperately. Alan Watts had another great Zen aphorism for this. Muddy water is best cleared by leaving it alone.
So the practical application.
If you find you simply cannot reach a particular goal despite multiple strenuous attempts, consider letting it go, at least for a while. Consciously shift your focus onto something else entirely. Revisit the original goal perhaps 6 or 18 months later. With distance and perspective, you'll see more clearly whether it's still what you truly want, and maybe a different, less effortful path to achieving it will become apparent. It's about recognizing when intense effort becomes the problem, not the solution, and allowing space for things to unfold differently. #outro.
Wow, what a deep dive that was. We've truly unpacked an incredible array of tools and insights from the Get Things Done book. Everything from tackling that gnawing problem of procrastination with a tomato timer or a symbol countdown, to strategically organizing your big projects with Kanban, and even considering redesigning your entire life trajectory with a completely new map of life.
We really have. We've explored how to lead and influence others more effectively, not just through traditional feedback methods, but with challenging ideas like radical transparency and the simple power of genuine appreciation. And crucially, I think, we've touched repeatedly on the power of self-reflection, understanding your circle of competence, figuring out what truly motivates you, and learning how to replenish your psychological energy reserves. It's truly about finding meaning and flow in what you do, not just chasing endless productivity.
Absolutely. And ultimately, this deep dive really reminds us that these are not rigid rules to be followed slavishly. They're flexible tools for your unique journey. The book constantly encourages you to experiment, to tinker, and find what really resonates and works for you.
Which raises, I think, an important question for you, our listener. In a world that seems utterly obsessed with doing more, constantly adding things to the list, what might you actually achieve by consciously choosing to do less in specific areas, thereby freeing up precious energy and focus for what truly counts for you?
That's a great question to ponder, and perhaps more immediately. What single small step, inspired by today's deep dive, will you try this week? What action will help you shift from just knowing about one of these ideas to actually doing something with it in an area that truly matters to you? We encourage you to reflect on that. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.
Thanks for tuning in to the Book Summary Podcast. If you found value in today's episode, hit that like button, subscribe for more summaries, and share it with someone who's ready to grow. Want deeper insights, exclusive book notes, and reading tips? Join our free newsletter. The link's in the description. And don't forget, if you'd like to read the full book, our affiliate link is right below. It helps support the channel and keeps the summaries coming. Until next time, keep reading, keep growing.